G'day there guys, thinks eating 20 nuggets is a personality trait here. It's your main man Markee and welcome back to another episode of r/AmiTheA. Now if you love today's content, I want you to sit down, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and enjoy all of today's stories. Thank you. Our first post is by user Family Drama AmiTheA, titled, Am I the a-hole for inviting my dad's girlfriend over my real mum to spend the day with me? So my, 17 female, parents got divorced 6 years ago. My mum quickly remarried, and my dad has been seeing his new girlfriend for nearly 2 years now. I now live at mum's house for 2 weeks, then switch over to dad's house for the next 2 weeks. My relationship with my mum has always been difficult. I always felt like my mum wished for a more girly daughter, so we could do classical mother-daughter activities together, but I'm simply not that person my mum wants me to be. I've always been more tomboyish and been into sports, especially tennis since I was a little girl, something my mum never truly understood or made an effort to be interested in. As a result, my mum and I never had the close mother-daughter relationship I feel like my mum wished for us to have. Now, my relationship with my dad has been the polar opposite. My dad and I always got along great, and I've always been a daddy's girl. But when my dad introduced me to his new girlfriend, Julia, I instantly disliked her. My younger me thought she was stealing my dad from me. Her being relatively young, 27 when they began dating, and how I unfairly stereotyped her at first, vapid pretty girl, certainly didn't make me like her either. But my younger me misjudged her, and she's honestly pretty great. She always supported me, showed interest in my passions, showed up to my tennis matches, something my mum didn't bother to do, and has been a great person all around. I'm now ashamed to admit this, but I didn't recognize this until around 3 months ago, and have been acting pretty horrible towards her before that. The problem? Second last weekend, I had a tennis tournament where I got second place. For the second place, I won a spa day for me and a guest. I decided to invite Julia, my dad's girlfriend, to thank her for supporting me and for dealing with my horrible behavior. You won't believe how happy she was when I invited her, but when I returned to my mum's place on Sunday evening, my mum kind of assumed I would invite her as my guest for the spa day. She seemed to really look forward to it. When I awkwardly told her that I already invited Julia, she was disappointed and sad. Since then, she's acted downcast and moody, and we haven't really talked. I tried to explain the situation to her, but she won't listen. Now I feel horrible. I feel like I really hurt my mum, and I feel like I chose Julia over her. Am I the a-hole for inviting my dad's girlfriend over my mum to spend the day with me? I mean, that's completely up to your mum as to how she wants to react and deal with the situation of not being invited. I can get how she somewhat just looks past her, previous past actions of not supporting you and your sport endeavors, and how she may assume that you didn't actually like Julia, and that this may just be a fad of liking her or something, and that your history with Julia is much worse than your history with your mum, so why would you ever choose Julia? There's many ways that someone could justify this behavior and see you as the a-hole, but I really feel like those arguments hold no water. Ultimately, it's your achievement, it's your reward. You can choose whoever the hell you want to go with you to this spa day. This is just something your mum has to accept, that you and her don't gel when it comes to sports. And it's completely okay for you to choose Julia over her. She's not a replacement, she's not anything else, she's Julia. She's someone else. Rejection sucks, but that's life. Not the a-hole OP. And in the comments, RitPositRit says, No a-holes here, but I can definitely see how this would have hurt your mother. You say she likes girly things, and here's a girly thing, but you didn't want to share it with her. Sit down with your mum. Tell her you noticed she's hurt and you did not intend that, you feel awful, and explain that you invited Julia as an apology of sorts to make up for being so awful to her for so long. Then let your mum know that you would really love to have a special mother-daughter spa day just with her. And to that first part, OP replies, I didn't think of it that way, but you're right. To my mum, It probably feels like Julia and I robbed her of the exact type of mother-daughter experience she always wanted. And I will do that. And to that, Gracie Goosey replies, "Not the a-hole. Your mum has not made the commitment that Julia has to support your interests. It sounds like you're disappointed that your mum hasn't done this. If that's the case, and you feel comfortable doing so, you should share that with your mum. I bet together you can find something you're both interested in, and it can be your special mother-daughter activity." NJ Bella says, "No a-holes here. It was certainly your choice to invite whoever you wanted. It's unfortunate this major olive branch to Julia hurt your mother. I understand why your mum would be sad, but hopefully you'll both be able to move past it. It could be a good opportunity for a deeper conversation about how you appreciate her and wish you shared more common interests, or that she'd take more of an interest in your activities and passions. Congrats on placing in the tourney." Queer Relia replies to that, "Her mother, though, is an a-hole. She was never supportive of OP's tournaments, wouldn't even show up, and now is sulky because even if she wasn't there, she wants to go out to the spa? No. Yeah, I'm interested in why people are glazing over this very point. OP is not the a-hole, but her mother is acting like a child. If she had been actually supportive of her daughter, then chances are she probably would have been invited." And Bella Blue 06 says, "Not the a-hole. She doesn't even show up to your tennis tournament and is sad you didn't invite her to a spa that you won at the match. My mum also wouldn't bother to show up to my sport events. It hurt. As an adult, I've taken her to the spa and paid for it, and she won free gift certificates after and said she'd take me. She let them expire and never brought it up again. I finally asked what happened, and she admitted that she let them expire and didn't want to talk about it. So I have to go with the people that actually care and make an effort that should feel appreciated. Your mum didn't make an effort and expected you to treat her. That's not fair of her to expect." And now on to the update. Sorry for the late update, it's been a busy 2 weeks. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to read and reply to my post. I've read every response and I appreciate all the input. I've been putting off talking to my mum until Sunday, a week ago, when I finally found a good opportunity to talk to her. I told my mum that I love her, that I didn't intend to hurt her by inviting Julia, and that I feel terrible for hurting her. I also explained to her why I invited Julia. This time she seemed to listen, and reassured her that me inviting Julia doesn't mean we can't have our own spa day, or that I chose Julia over her because she's still my mum, and I'll always love her. Then I showed her the websites of some spa places I'd looked up beforehand and offered to pay for part of the costs. I know some people advised me against it, but I think it's a small but important gesture to show my mum how much she means to me. My mum seemed really excited to go to one of them with me and said that I wouldn't have to pay a cent. Then came the hard part for me. I told my mum that I feel like she never supported me in my interests, and it hurts me that she can't even be bothered to show up to my tennis matches. I also expressed my feelings that I always felt like she wished for a more girly daughter, and how this hurt me. At first, my mum got pretty defensive. She tried to deny it, but I was adamant, and in the end, when she saw how important this was for me, she apologized and promised to improve. Later at dinner, my mum asked me if I would like to go to a nearby climbing park with her and my stepdad in the future. I instantly agreed and was so happy because going to a climbing park isn't something my mum normally would suggest. I feel like it means she genuinely listened to me and tries to truly improve our relationship. It's been a week now since I talked to my mum, and I'm in good spirits as I hope our relationship will improve. I'm also hopeful we will find our own mother-daughter thing in the future. Thanks again, Reddit, for your input. And in the comments, No Nano Nay says, quote, "I feel like it means she genuinely listened to me and tried to truly improve our relationship." End quote. It really sounds like it. Seems like your mum is showing you she meant her apology. She made a promise to try, and now is acting on that promise. Good on you for approaching her, and even having a suggestion ready and standing firm. It's natural she got defensive at first, but her dropping it not only shows that she acknowledged this was important to you, but showed a part of her humility. She realized she had done something wrong, and then her words, and later actions, that followed, reflect on how she does want to work on your relationship. Her relationship with her daughter is more important than her being right, or sticking to any image, which is such a nice break to read compared to what's normally around Reddit with parental relationships. Healthy communication for the win, people. And that S replies, the only way to end it is to go through it. Your comment is spot on. OP had to sit through her mum being defensive and hold her ground to get her point across. Healthy communication isn't easy, but it's worth it. Exactly. Many things are tough, but worth it. I give props to OP for sticking with her point, and her mum for realizing that active change is more important than defending her past actions. It sucks, and is hard to realize you're not perfect, and how you've been doing things for years has been negatively affecting someone you love. The fact that by dinner, OP's mum had already taken action to improve things going forward, that's what a good person and mum should do. She didn't dwell on the discussion or go into a woe is me stance, but immediately took action in a manner which would be meaningful to OP, and a positive step in their relationship consequently. Maybe I've been on Reddit too much today and read too many negative stories, but this really did give me, yay, faith in humanity feels. Further down, Splatter Film says, what a lovely update. I think you're taking the right steps to improve your relationships with both your mum and Julia. The instant acceptance of the climbing park invitation was probably encouraging as well. My day is a little brighter for this. And further down, AmiTheA says, it's great to hear that your mum seems to have really taken to heart that your interests differ from hers, and she's willing to do things she doesn't necessarily have much interest in order to spend time with you. Just remember that it's a two-way street and that it'd mean a lot to her if occasionally you also did something more in her wheelhouse, such as the spa thing. Doesn't have to be all the time, but it'd be a great gift idea for Mother's Day, her birthday, Christmas, etc. And now I pass it to you guys. What did you guys think of this story and its update? I'd love to know if you have had similar experiences, and how did those result in the end? How did you deal with experiences like this? And also, do you think OP is still an a-hole or still not the a-hole at the end of this story? Me personally, I'm glad that things did get resolved, as all too often we see things just break down and go the absolute worst way possible, which is life, and that's natural and that's fair, but I guess it just happens. It really just happens sometimes. There's not much we can do about it. Anyway, enough waffling. On to the next story. Our next post is by user throwaway98749996, titled, Am I the a-hole for kicking a friend out of my house for what she said? Disclaimer, I'm on mobile, and this is a throwaway for privacy reasons. So earlier today, I had 2 friends over to watch a game and catch up as social distancing rules eased up a bit in my area. We're all women in our early 30s. One friend, let's call her A, has had a very tough couple of years. She lost her husband last year, he was on deployment when he passed away, and tragedy struck again when her 6-year-old son passed away from cancer a few months ago. Needless to say, she was and still is devastated, and this was the first time she felt like hanging out since the loss of her son. My other friend, let's call her B, is very traditional and religious, while friend A and myself are not religious at all, but our differing views have never been an issue, and we've gotten along just fine with friend B since we met her 4 to 5 years ago. Friend B has brought up what she believes are the benefits of religion to us a few times in the past, but always dropped the subject when we weren't responsive to it. Neither friend A or I ever held any ill feelings toward her about this, as she wasn't too pushy with her beliefs. On to the situation that took place today. We were listening to friend A pour her heart out and doing our best to console her while being a shoulder to cry on. Friend A, through tears, said, I don't know what I did wrong in my life to deserve to lose her husband and her son. Instantly, friend B exclaimed, "Well, I can tell you that. You didn't allow God and the Bible into your life, so God punished you for it. Can you blame him?" Friend A just looked at her in awe. I lost it. I yelled at her that what she said was totally uncalled for and unbelievably hurtful. Then I got up, opened the front door, and told her to get the hell out of my house and never contact me again. She tried to backtrack and say that she wasn't trying to be hurtful, but I wasn't having any of it. I yelled again, "Just get out of my house right now. Don't make me throw you out like a piece of trash." She huffed and left. Friend A was bawling at this point, but said thank you. We continued talking and she calmed down after a while. Looking back now, I realized that I possibly could have handled the situation better. Both friend A and I never thought friend B would say something like that. Maybe I overreacted. I don't know. Am I the a-hole? I don't think you overreacted. I think she overreacted. You don't just say that to someone who's grieving. There's never a situation where it's okay to say that to someone. I feel like that's just absolutely terrible to say to them. Ah, yes, I know why your husband and child died. And you deserve it, you goddamn well deserve it, don't you? You didn't let Jesus into your life, so they deserve to be dead. That's just fucking horrendous to say to someone, and my god, you call yourself a good person and a good friend if you say that to someone. This friend B absolutely deserved to be kicked out of the friend group, blocked, and shamed for that. I don't know, maybe if she's gonna, realize the error of her ways and genuinely apologize, not give a fake apology, there's room for redemption there, but that's an absolutely awful thing to say to someone. I'd probably lose my marbles if they said that to me, or if they said that to my friend while I was in the presence of them. Absolutely unaware of themselves, this person is. So socially unacceptable. Not the a-hole OP. Edit. I didn't expect this to take off as much as it did, and I really appreciate all the comments, messages, and awards. I want to clarify why I think I may have overreacted. I always thought of myself as tolerant and a person who respects other people's views and beliefs, no matter how extreme. This situation made me react in a way that, in my mind, didn't make me a tolerant person because I did throw someone out of my house for saying something that I thought was out of line, but it still was part of their belief system. This is the reason I wanted opinions from my fellow Redditors, as I obviously can't be unbiased here. Thank you all for your input. Now in the comments, Nose and Toes says, "Not the a-hole, I'm just impressed at your restraint. I would have tossed B out of the window." Thank you. I won't lie, the thought crossed my mind. Defo not the a-hole. My grandmother threw a friend of hers out of her house because she told her that God only gives the cross you can carry, with regards to both of my grandmother's grandchildren having a genetic chronic illness. Preaching religion to somebody going through something this tough is not a thing that nice people do. Jake Fortune says, "Not the a-hole. I mean, you could have handled the situation better, but you probably aren't big enough to physically grab B by the collar and belt and throw her 10 feet out in the front yard like in cartoons." And OP says, "You made me laugh with this, thank you." And Chaton de Danger says, "Not the a-hole. Not even a little bit. It was a rhetorical question. Her self-righteous attitude needed adjusting, and to be honest, if I were friend A, friend B wouldn't have had time to backpedal. Her comments were rude, distasteful, and downright mean. Bad things happen to everyone, regardless of what, if any, religion they follow." And now to the update. It's been a few weeks since the situation happened, so I'll start off by saying that ex-friend B did not apologize to friend A for what she said. Matter of fact, she hasn't reached out to either one of us since then. We also didn't reach out to her. Unfortunately, B's words from that day really got to friend A. She struggled with survivor's guilt and questioned her upbringing and lifestyle, views on religion, etc. She doubled her therapy sessions, and I spent my free time keeping her company. A couple of weeks ago, I went over to her place and found her reading a Bible and almost obsessively flagging pages. She said she was researching to check if what B told her was true. She started reading excerpts and telling me her interpretations. This behavior did scare me a bit, so I suggested she bring this up to her therapist. It was the only thing that I could think of to help calm her down. She did talk to the therapist, who suggested she perhaps talk to a pastor instead of trying to come up with her own conclusions. She asked me to go with her, which I did, but told me to just wait for her at the church while she talked to the pastor privately. After, she said that she felt better and was more convinced that B was full of it. She also seemed calmer, so I believed that conversation did help her. I was at her house on Friday, and she told me that she still thinks about what was said, and although she feels much better after talking to the pastor, he's only one person, and what if he's wrong? I tried to reassure her again and talk through her feelings, but I could tell it was still eating at her. I had a feeling she might spiral again. Then I had an idea. I told her about the post I'd made on here and explained why, how it works, etc. She's not a Reddit user. I pulled up my original post and asked her to read the comments to show her how hundreds of people, religious and non-religious, felt about what was said. We spent the evening reading each comment. She cried, she laughed, she was surprised and overwhelmed at the amount of support and reassuring words from all these strangers. I could tell she was more and more relieved as we read. She's been in a much better state of mind since then, so seeing hundreds of people disagree with B's words definitely had a positive impact on her. So dear Redditors, thank you from the bottom of my heart for helping my friend with your kind words and reassurance. She has a long road ahead of her in this grieving process, but she's going strong. And in the comments, says, wow, the tremendous effort and perseverance you took to reach into your friend's darkness and haul her out is wonderful to see. She was hanging on a ledge by her fingertips. Your ex-friend stomped on her fingers, and you just dove down after your friend and stuck with her and got creative out of concern. She's lucky to have you and smart enough to know it. Well done. I'm glad your post was in place at the right time for your friend too. There are so many of us, and as isolated as we can feel, it can be helpful to know that many of us have struggled too. And OP says, I'm speechless and teary-eyed reading this. I've never received such a well-put, thought-out compliment. I don't even know what to say. Thank you so much. You're welcome. I was touched by your compassion, your effort, and your courage to get in there and face things with your friend. I wish you all the best. Researching Options says, I'm a Christian. I have an advanced degree from a respected seminary. I've extensive experience in biblical, theological, and historical study. What former friend said is wrong. God does not typically punish non-believers or followers in this life, outside of very significant situations. The type of scenario that your former friend described is not accurate. Yes, if one does not accept God during this life, then one experiences negative consequences after this life. However, that is different. Nature was corrupted. Illness exists and has many causes. People have free will, and choices have an infinite number of consequences. Tragedies happen. There is nothing in the Bible that supports what your former friend said. Nothing. In fact, the nearest parallel case in the Bible is the ancient story of Job. This is probably the oldest story in the Bible, with the exception of the first few chapters of Genesis. In Job, Job believed and followed God. He was wealthy and had a great family. Satan went to God and argued that Job only followed God because he was so blessed, and that Job would turn away from God if he were to experience suffering. God disagreed. This was put to the test, and it was brutal. Job did not turn from God. Satan was proven wrong, and we, ages later, have lessons to learn. The final chapters of Job involve him reaching a breaking point and challenging God, God's reply, and ultimately Job's restoration. Here's a critical note for your friend. Job's friends went to him and asked him what he did wrong. They said he must have done something horrible. He must have rejected or offended God somehow in order to experience such tragedy. Job 42, 7-9 is brief but so important. This is after God and Job have discussed matters. God then spoke to Job's 3 friends who had accused him of doing wrong to earn such tragedy. He told them that they had not spoken the truth about God. He told them that he was angry with them. He told them to apologize to Job and to make offerings, and then Job would have the opportunity to pray for their forgiveness, and then I will surely accept his prayer and not deal with you as your folly deserves. Your former friend said the same thing that Job's friends had said, and God called them liars and said that they deserved punishment. God loves you, your friend, and your former friend. He does want each of you to follow him, and there is zero evidence that he killed your friend's family as punishment for her unwillingness to believe in him. You have the freedom to reject God. That freedom is messy because it means that people are free to screw up the world, but it means that we're not slaves. He's invited you to be his friend. Okay then. And our last comment, International Divide 0 says, "Good for you for being a supportive friend. Bottom line is, bad things do happen to good people. Sadly, no one can control those, not even the ultra-religious people. There are many religions out there, and bad things also happen to believers and non-believers. Don't know if it will help her, but a friend started volunteering with kids with cancer after her daughter passed, not related to cancer. But maybe volunteer with something her son or husband did like. Go with her. It might bring her some peace." And that's where I think I'm going to end today's episode, guys. What did you think of this last one? I mean, it's honestly so sad and terrible what did continue to occur here, but I'm glad that it ended amicably for her. I hope friend A can find some peace in her life after friend B just came and tore a hole in it, as, you know, that's really, really not nice of her to have said that. That's really all I have to add to it. Has your judgment changed listening to the story and the update? As always, guys, I hope you have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.